Hello friends, in most of the traditional Jyotish systems, the focus is mostly on the Lagna or the ascendant for a person to be successful and fortunate in life. As ascendant is the point around which a horoscope is built, and the ninth house is the house of luck and fortune. Therefore, whenever it comes to being successful in life, the focus is on the ascendant in the ninth house in the traditional astrology. But in KP, the ninth and the lagna are not given as much importance as the 11th house. We will see in a while that why KP Shri Krishnamurti talks more about the 11th house when it comes to for a person to become successful in life. Now, regarding the traditional approach about the first house and the ninth house for becoming successful, in some of the videos, the reason for this that I have watched is very, I would say, very hilarious and very amusing when they talk about that why the first house and the ninth house together make a person successful in life. And I'm going to quote some of the reasons that or the explanation that I found in some of the videos. Now here are a few. And the health is wealth, which basically means if a person's ascendant is strong, then that person is going to be successful in life because the health is good. And the disciplined life, when a person is leading a very disciplined kind of a life, and these two has something to do with the ascendant. And then the ninth house. About the ninth house, usually they say that reaping the fruits of the karmic act of the previous birth. So this has something to do about the karma theory. And then they also talk about that luck follows morally upright person following dharmic routine. And finally, of course, the healthy body and healthy mind and soul is equal to becoming successful in life. Now, this is a very, I would say, a very hilarious kind of explanation about why the lagna and the ninth house would make a person successful in life. See, these are the things like health is wealth and disciplined life and those kind of things. These advices might have health and other benefits, but the truth is that this alone is not sufficient for any person to become successful in life. And the reason is that life is not fair. It is not that you follow these disciplines in life and you become successful. Life is not fair. And for this reason, we see all kind of persons becoming successful or failing in life. So you find that these all these thugs and criminals and the looters, fraudulent people, they also succeed in life and they also fail in life. And similarly, you will see people who are suffering from the some bad health issue. They are also sometimes successful and sometimes they also fail. So following a very disciplined, healthy lifestyle itself is not a guarantee that a person will be successful in life. And then you have all these people who have something to do with religion, like people who are preachers or the priest, and they also succeed and they also fail in life. So therefore, saying this that health is wealth and if the ascendant is strong, then the person will follow a disciplined life, and thus he or she might become successful. Is not a very reasonable explanation. The thing is that life is not fair, and or I would say that life is not fair, and so we need to get used to it. Shri Krishnamurti gives a new and very fresh perspective by drawing the focus on the 11th house, and for very good reasons. So let's look at the first 5 plus 1. First, let me talk about the first 5, and then I'll add the additional plus 1. Now the house 9, 10, 11 and 12. These are the dharma, artha, kam and moksha. We all know that these 4 houses are called as the dharma, artha, kam and moksha. Now this kam, this word kam, which is for the 11th house, because the 9th house shows the dharma, 10th house shows the earth, 11th house shows the kam, and 12th house shows the moksha. The kam should not be, it's not about only passion. Usually kam means some kind of a physical affinity, or like we use the word kam vasana. But kam should not be reduced to mean only passion. Kam means kamana, the desires. That's what the word kam means. So bhav means bhavana, and the kam means kamana. So that thus the 11th house is your bhavana or the emotions related to all your desires. So this is very important, and this is a very refreshing explanation by Sri Krishnamurti about the 11th house. And thus he says that 11th house is one's hope, wishes, aspirations and their realization. And time and again you will find that Sri Krishnamurti has praised about the importance of the 11th house in the Krishnamurti Paddhati. So he says that 11th house signification and the connection does not expect one to be healthy, unhealthy, or moral or immoral to realize his or her dreams. Like we saw that with this explanation of the Lagna and the 9th house, where someone is expected to lead a very disciplined or a moral life and those kind of a thing. The 11th house has nothing to do with all this. If in a horoscope 11th house is strong, then that person is going to realize his or her dreams. So there is no demand on the part of the 11th house for a person to be morally upright. And then the persons of any caste, color, creed or greed, moral or immoral, can be successful so long the 11th house is strong according to the Krishnamurti Paddhati. So now let me add the summary for the 11th house, and that's because in KP the 11th house has a very special signification. So what Shri Krishnamurti says, that the 11th house governs success in all undertakings, professional or business, higher studies or foreign collaboration, election, litigation, speculation, writing, health. So you can see that how much of importance Shri Krishnamurti has given to the 11th house. It is the house of fulfillment of desire. So if you are purchasing a car, and if you get just the right kind of a car in right kind of a price, then the 11th house role is there. Or if you are looking to acquire some property, same kind of a thing is there. Or if you are trying to get an admission into one of your favorite school or colleges, then also the role of the 11th house will decide whether your realization will be accomplished or not. Now the 11th house is also popularly called as the Labhistan, or the house of profit or gain or the income. So whenever there is a handshaking between the 11th house with the other houses, then is the time for a person to make some profit or gain. So when the 11th house gets connected to the first house, then at that time, whatever effort a person makes, the self effort, that all those efforts will prove to be successful, and the person will be able to gain some money or some income. When the 11th house gets connected with the second house, then one may earn by self acquisition. Now, what self acquisition means is that whatever accumulated money is there in terms of some stocks or gold or jewelry, whatever thing that second house indicates, suddenly there is some kind of an appreciation, especially during the Dasha, Bhukti or Antara of the 11th house that's connected to the second house. So at that time, one may earn by self acquisition. Third house, is about writing, agency, younger brothers, etc. So from all these sources, one can expect some profit or gain. Fourth house, vehicle, immovable property. So whatever fourth house indicates, so one can expect to gain from those things. Fifth house is for speculation, sports, and lottery and cinema and all that. So all these activities will prove to be beneficial when the fifth house gets connected with the 11th house. Sixth house denotes your service or the borrowing, the debts from the bank, and sometimes even the dispute. So one might gain from all these things. Similarly, for the other houses, seventh house indicate business partnership, litigation, wife or husband. Eighth is for the insurance, provident fund, wills and legacies. See, this is the eighth house is usually deemed as the bad house, but you have to in Krishnamurti Paddhati, when the eighth house has a handshaking with the 11th house and the second house, at that time person actually makes money from the insurance or the provident fund, or somebody has left behind some kind of a legacy. So unless and until 8th house is connected to other bad houses like 6th and 12th, then that creates a bad phase of dasha. But so long 8th is connected to the 11th and the second, then there is a gain from whatever the 8th house indicates. 9th house is for foreign collaboration and by doing research, higher education, those kind of stuff. 10th, is about the business or the career. 11th is from the friends and the through the networking and through reconciliation also. What does this reconciliation mean? That if there is a dispute, then the 11th house is the house of friendship. So at the time of dispute, and especially when the 11th Dasha Bhukti or Antara is active, then at that time a person will usually try to avoid any litigation, and he or she will prefer to go for some kind of a reconciliation. So one can gain from these kind of activities as well. 12th house, whatever 12th house indicates, investment, donation, and apart from this, see, the 12th house also indicates deception and fraud. So if there is a handshaking between the 11th and the 12th house, and of course there are other factors, then a person might get into some kind of a fraudulent activities and actually gains out of that. Another very important aspect of the 11th house is about the permanent ties and friendship and the networking. This is the house, the 11th house, that also indicates what kind of friend circle a person might have, long lasting friend or short term friend, and what kind of benefit one can get from that kind of networking. So if Sun is the significator of the 11th house, then whatever Sun indicates, people in power, politicians, so then a person will have the chance to have those kind of a friends. And since the Sun is a very honorable kind of a planet, so these friends, whatever these friends a person has through the Sun's connection with the 11th house, they will be a noble and honorable person, and they will be kind of steady in friendship, and they will also help the person in gaining a good position in the society. Obviously, these people are going to be connected with the politicals or people in the power. Now with the moon, so whatever moon denotes, so the person is going to have that kind of friend. And one of the typical thing about moon is that these person will have a large circle of friends, especially the female friends, because moon indicates that kind of a friendship. And it also brings social success and popularity. And but one thing is you might want to know that moon is very changeful, so the friendship might not be very long lasting because of the moon's nature, and there will be short term kind of a friendship, and it will be changeful. And Mars, now you know what Mars indicates, so the people who are mostly interested in the sports or the athletic class and all that, these kind of person will become the friends when Mars is the signifying the 11th house. And of course these friends are going to be bold and courageous because that's what Mars indicates. And but sometimes this kind of a friendship which is Mars dominated or Mars influence, that can be impulsive and rash. See, these people who are Mars different, and when they become your friend, okay, and Mars is a very it's a very bold kind of a planet, so sometimes they might get into some kind of a fight on your behalf. So that's the kind of friends you can expect when Mars becomes strongly connected to the 11th house. And then sometimes these, because the Mars is a very rash kind of a planet, so the advice from such kind of a friend can also land you in some kind of legal trouble as well. And then Mercury is for all intellectual kind of people with literary bent of mind or the scientific bent of mind. So one might have those kind of a friend. They're very good at in engaging someone in a good intelligent discussions. But one thing is that Mercury is mutable by nature. So what that means is that these friends are not very reliable. Today they might have a very good rapport with you, but in a very short period of time they might change the color, and that's because the nature of the Mercury, which is mutable. So when Mercury is connected to the 11th house, then these kind of friendship might emerge. Jupiter, you know what Jupiter is, noble, dharmic. So Jupiter will help you get those kind of friends. And Jupiter is also a planet of expansion. So when Jupiter gets connected to the 11th house, and when it comes to the networking and friendship and all that, then you can expect a very large circle of friends, because that's what Jupiter indicates, the expansion. And most of the time these friends are very sincere and noble kind of people. And Venus indicates friendship with those of the opposite sex, and because that's what Venus stands for. And but these friends are very helpful, because Venus is a very sweet natured planet, and because it's connected to the art also, so many of these friends will be artistically inclined also. And Venus by nature is also fond of socializing, So one can do a lot of networking through these Venus related friends. And then the Saturn. Now Saturn is a aging and old planet. So many of these friends might be older in the age group, and they have a sense of seriousness. That's what Saturn indicates. But and then Saturn is also a planet that indicates labor. So that's why one may have a friendship with the people in the subordinate position. And another thing is that Saturn shows Saturn is a planet of contraction. So it will help you to have only a few selected friends, whereas Jupiter, which is a planet of expansion, gives you a large number of friends. Now another thing is that the Saturn's nature of limitation and contraction is not really a very good thing for the 11th house. Because the 11th house indicates the realization of the wishes, and Saturn is also a planet of delay. So this is something that you might want to note. This is a very the Shri Krishnamurti's rule, and you will not easily find this rule. And what he says here is that if Saturn is a significator of the 11th house, and you are expecting some event to materialize where the 11th house plays a crucial role, then Saturn will give let me read this for you. It says the Saturn will give the favorable result in its subperiod, and Saturn will not allow other planet to offer such a result in their subperiod. So suppose if marriage is going to be arranged and Saturn is one of the strong significator, then whatever dasha, antardasha that's appearing before Saturn, so you might have Rahu or Guru, and that might be a strong significator. But if Saturn is in the picture, then Saturn will not allow the Rahu and Jupiter to finalize the wedding. So why this principle is important is that, see, the when it comes to eliminating the significator, when you are trying to figure out that what are the fruitful significators that are going to bring about an event, then this particular nature of Saturn you might want to keep in your mind. Now there are a few more things about the 11th house, and that's nice to know. So I'm not going to read out this. You can pause the video and make a note of all these some of the important things related to the 11th house. But I'm going to draw your attention to these 3 points, the last 3 points. So one is that the 11th house indicates the discharge from the hospital, because it is 12th to the 12th house. So 12th house indicates the hospitalization, and the 11th house indicates the discharge from the hospital. Another thing is that the 11th house is not good for a spiritual life, because it is the house of calm or the kamana, and the spiritual life expects a detachment from the calm or the kamana. So 11th house is a stumbling block for the people who are spiritually inclined. And another thing is that 11th house is also the Bhadakistan for all the movable rashis, the Aries, Cancer, and Libra, and the Capricorn. So being the 11th house, it is the Bhadakistan. But if you have to judge first you have to judge the span of the lifespan of a person. And before that, if somebody runs the dasha of the Bhadakistan planet, then the person is going to survive that period unless and until the the span of the life gets exhausted by calculating the Alpayu and Madhyayu and Dirghayu. And so until that, one will enjoy beneficial results related to the 11th house. So you might want to make a note of especially this rule from Shri Krishnamurti. In Krishnamurti Paddhati, the significance and the role of the 11th house keeps appearing as you read more of the Krishnamurti Paddhati rules. Then you will notice that the 11th house keeps appearing when it comes to realization of ambition or the dreams or being successful. Now there's some of the combination, the house grouping, and there are not many, but some of these essential 5 at least, you should be doing. And for the marriage, 2, 7 and 11. So you see the 11th is there. Second house is the house of Kutumb. So second house is the addition of a new family member in the Kutumb. 7th house is the house of the legal bonding. And the 11th house is the house of not only calm but also permanent friendship. And then 2, 5, 11 for childbirth, 1, 11, 5 for recovery from the illness, 4, 11 and 12 for the property acquisition, and 6, 10, 11 success and promotion in competition. Now, one of the rules that I forgot to mention was that the 11th house also indicates the live-in relationship. See, the 7th house indicates the legal bonding, and 11th house is the house of a calm or the passion. So when 7th house is not in the picture and only the 11th house is in the picture along with the 5th house, and then a person might get into a live-in kind of a relationship. It indicates a physical relationship outside marriage. So that's another thing that is important for the 11th house. In the traditional astrology, when it comes to the selection of the gemstone, then the ascendant or the 9th house is given the utmost importance. But in Krishnamurti Paddhati is about the 11th house. And we've already seen that how much importance Krishnamurti has given to the 11th house. And the KP rule, this is very important about the gemstone selection, because there's a lot of confusion amongst the astrologers in the Jyotish community about how to identify whether one should be wearing the stone based on the whether the planet is malefic or a benefic. But in Krishnamurti Paddhati, the KP rule is that wearing bad planet gemstone will make things worse. So Krishnamurti has given this example that that if you are going through a bad Dasha Bhukti Yantra, that's like a fire, and then to douse this fire or to kill this fire, you have to pour water. And that is what the 11th house significator indicates. So if you are going through, let's say, the Rahu period or the Jupiter period, and one is getting some kind of a suffering during that period, then many times the people recommend that one should be wearing Jupiter's gemstone or Rahu gemstone. But in Krishnamurti Paddhati, you have to look at the 11th house, and whatever the strongest significator of the 11th house is, that is the gemstone that you should be wearing. Now here I will give one word of caution. See, when you are trying to assess the significators according to the Krishnamurti rule, you will find that a planet becomes the significator of 11th house, as well as might become a significator of some other bad houses as well, like the 6th house or the 8th house or the 12th house. So though I am giving this Krishnamurti's rule, but obviously some more discussion is required, which I will do in some other video. But just to make a note that the KP rule is that 11th house significator gemstone you have to wear, and depending on what planet strongly signifies the 11th house, so that list is given here. So you will see that the ruby is not mentioned for the sun. Shri Krishnamurti has mentioned the gold, and similarly for Jupiter also he has mentioned the gold over here. And now the couple of questions people have is that when should I be wearing? So the weekday that identifies that particular planet is a nice day, or otherwise you can also find the star days when the moon is transiting a particular star. So that day also you can identify. Another important thing that you might want to note, and what Shri Krishnamurti has mentioned, is this. So there's a lot of these things, the whether the gemstone should touch the body or not. Krishnamurti has mentioned that it is not necessary that the gems should touch your body. So that was the some perspective on the role of the 11th house in Krishnamurti Paddhati, and there are some other houses that also needs some discussion, because in Krishnamurti Paddhati the signification of those houses is a little different from the tradition, the way traditional astrology describes those houses. For example, the 6th house and the 8th house, they have a little bit of different explanation in the Krishnamurti system. So I will do some separate videos, and I think I will focus on the ascendant, the 6th house, 8th house, and the 10th house, and the 11th is, of course, that we already covered. So that's all in this video. Thanks for watching.